Welcome back to another stitch tutorial. This is Crystal from Yarn Creations. So the tutorial that I am going to work on today is called the star stitch. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start with a chain, and we're going to do a chain with even numbers. So I'm going to do mine with 22. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to work into the next 5 stitches and pull up a loop onto our hook. So because we already have a loop on there, we're not going to count this as our first one, so we're just going to move into the next stitch. Sorry, I'm out of frame. So we're going to pull up a loop, then we're going to move into the next stitch. Okay, and then we're just going to do that until we have 6 loops on our hook. Okay, so now we have 5, so we just need to do one more. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops. And now we're just going to yarn over and pull through all of those loops, and then we're going to chain 1. So that there has basically completed our first star. So there is some terminology when it comes to talking about stars, and you'll probably learn this if you look this up yourself for other videos, if you feel that you need further direction, or maybe someone else might explain it a little bit better. So this center that we just created there by doing that chain 1, that's actually called the eye. And then we have what we call the leg, which is this stitch right here. I'm just going to go under it. So it's just that one that's underneath the eye, I guess, and the last one that we did there. And then this is called your base. So the reason that I wanted to explain that to you is that we are going to be using those 3 to work into our next star. So again, we need to pull up 6 loops onto our hook. So we're going to start by going into the center and pulling up a loop. And then we're going to go into our leg. So you can either just go right underneath the stitch like this, or you can go in between, whichever you prefer. I did start it when I was first learning it. I would go in between, but then the next time around I went through this way. I did actually have a sample, which I meant to show you at the beginning of this video. That's how distracted I am. And it's hot. We're going through this extreme heat wave right now. And I have to close my door so that you guys don't hear the air conditioner and the fans blasting while I make this video. So I don't want to be too long because it's getting a little warm. My dog's also laying in here too with me. I might have to let him out when I pause the video at some point. But yeah, so that's just what it's going to look like. I think it's a really neat stitch. It's very pretty. Be great for blankets. I'd almost like to try to see if I could incorporate that into like a beanie of some sort, because I think that's really neat. I guess a headband, it would work and look nice too. All right, so sorry. So we were pulling up. I'm going to back up here because that I distracted myself. So we need to pull up 6 loops. So we already have 1 loop on our hook. So we're going to go into the center of that eye where we did that chain 1. And then again, we're going to go into that leg. And then we're going to go into the base, which is that bottom there. So we have 4. So now we need to move into the next 2 chains. And just pulling up a loop, that's all we're doing. And there is our 6 loops, and again we just pull through, yarn over and pull through all of them, and then we're going to chain 1 again. So I'm going to show you one more time. So you're going to go into the eye, pull up a loop, then we're going to go into this leg, which is right there, and then we're going to go into the base, and then we're going to go into the next 2 chain spaces. Okay, so once again, we have 6 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all of them. And then again, we chain 1. And we're going to do that all the way until we get to the end. So I'm just going to pause the video here and we will come back when I get to the end. Okay, so we're at our last star that we need to make here. So I just wanted to, because we do something a little bit different at the end. So I'm just going to, so again, we go into the center, into the leg, and then into the base. So what I was running into when I was doing this, and this is why I say that you need to pay attention to what you're doing, is that I would end up having an extra stitch. So you only want to have the last 2 because that's going to complete our star. So I would end up having 3 and I'd be like, what am I doing wrong? So I mean, it was just when I was creating my stars, instead of going into like 2 after I went into the base, I for some reason must have just went into 1, thinking, and then only pulled through 5 loops. So again, like, you just got to make sure you have those 6 loops on your hook. Okay, so that's going to be our last star of this row. We're going to chain 1. So just so that we can get a nice even edge along the side there, we're actually going to do a half double crochet into that same, into the, where we just, into the base of our star. So we're going to do a half double crochet into that base, the last stitch that we just worked into. Okay, and that completes our first row. So for the next row, we're going to chain 1, and then we need to make single crochets all the way across so that we're able to even out the stitches that we have along here, because when we create the stars, it kind of reduces the amount of stitches that we have. So right away at the into the half double crochet that we just did, we're going to do a single crochet, and then you're going to see that eye of that star there. We're going to do a single crochet into that one as well. Now in the remaining stars, in the remaining eye of the stars, we're just going to work 2 single crochets. So you're just going to immediately go into your next eye, and we're going to put 2 single crochets in there, and then we're going to do that into the next eye of the star. So we're just going to work 2 single crochets into each eye of the star from the previous round. So again, you need to make sure that, you know, you're doing the 2 single crochets into those eyes, because if you don't, then your stitches for the next row will not work out. Trust me, I know. But I mean, it's a learning process for us all, right? The more you practice, the better or easier it becomes, I guess. I'm almost thinking that the yarn I'm using here is, it's a cotton blend, so it's a cotton and acrylic blend, so it's a little bit softer. It's not quite as like thick as just regular cotton. But I'm almost thinking that this would be cute to make little face cloths with, like the face scrubbies that I like to make using this pattern. That might be my next project. Okay, so we're down to the last star. So we are, or eye of the star. So we're going to put 2 single crochets in there. So again, we now kind of have this edge sticking out there. So we do want to even that up. So we are going to put a single crochet into that corner. All right, so now we're going to move on to the next row, which, sorry, I'm going to just talk about it for a minute. So that means that we're going to be doing another row of our stars. So this is probably the most maybe trickiest, or the second row of stars. We need to chain 2. Okay, and so in order to even this out and to make sure that we use, you know, all the stitches that we need to complete all the stars, when you do the chain 2, we kind of need to work our first 2 loops into this chain 2. So what we're going to do first, and I'm going to use these 2. So I'm going to call this the front and the back. So I'm going to pull up a loop just into that front loop, which sometimes is not that easy and I have to pick away at it. Okay, and then to get my next loop, I'm going to work into that back one. So that gives me 3 stitches, or 3 loops onto my hook. So now we need 3 more in order to complete our first star. So again, we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to go into the next 3 stitches, and we should now have 6 loops on our hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3. So yeah, so that's probably the most trickiest of this, is just when you do that second row and you chain 2 and you've got to work in the front and back loop of one of those chains that you created. And then you just repeat the same pattern. You're going to do the same thing again now, where we're going to go into our eye, we're going to go into our leg, and we're going to go into our base, and then 2 other stitches, or the next 2 stitches. So now we're working into the stitches and not the chain. And then we pull through all 6 loops, and then we chain 1. And we do the same thing again. So that is the star stitch. Like I said, I think the trickiest part is just starting the second row of star stitches and working into that chain. What am I doing? Oh yeah, no, I got there. Hold on here. There we go. Just trying to work into the base again, I think. But yeah, so you're just going to continue to do that all the way across until you get to the end, and don't forget that in that last stitch, which will be the base of the star that you just created, you need to do a half double crochet, and that just evens up the edge for you. And then you do your row of single crochet just like I showed you in that last one, where you put 2 in the eye of each star. But yeah, that is the star stitch. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope that was easy enough to follow along. Thank you for watching, and as always, I try to do a stitch of the week every week. So that is this week. So we are in July right now, going through a heat wave, and it's very, very hot. So I like to work on, you know, little things like this, because having a bunch of yarn in my lap is really hot right now. But I hope you all are doing well, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.